Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of the Culture and People podcast. Steve, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
That's a great question. I ask myself that every day, actually. um, I'm kind of grew up on the corporate side of things, have a lot of agency side experience mixed in. I've worked in companies I've started myself. I've helped other people start companies. Uh, long way of saying, like, I kind of have done it all in my career, and I'm very grateful for that. But fast forward today, I work in the HR tech space, running a job shadow company called Inntro. And Inntro helps HR pros more efficiently recruit and retain talent.
Agreed. Love what you're doing. Steve is what you call a serial entrepreneur, and I learn a lot from you all the time. I love it.
Oh, thank
So
you.
tell me, what's the best thing for you about working in this people and culture space?
Yeah, this is a great question, and did some soul searching on it. And for me, really, it's the long play. It's working with people on their career or company development, and then watching them grow in what I call like the 2 to 4 to 10 year window, and see where they end up.
Yeah, planting those seeds and then seeing how they flower later. Like, whoa, yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
I look back to the time when I had the most influence on hiring and developing people.
Yeah.
And today they are in leadership roles in corporate. They are running their own companies. There are marriages and now kids coming out of, how these people came together to work. So it's really awesome to think I may have had some kind of role in that.
Oh, completely. All right. So I'm hearing from other leaders like yourself that engaging employees can be a challenge. What are your
Yes,
thoughts?
I hear the same. We operate in similar circles of the types of people at the companies that we work with. And when I think about that and how much it costs companies to replace employees because they leave, because they aren't engaged, there's got to be a better way. I believe that's like where ideas like Inntro can come in and help HR leaders. But really, we've all got to work together to address this issue of engagement.
Yeah, because I think when you can get a great tool, Steve, like Inntro, but if they don't have, so I sort of look at things like foundation, structure, then process, then people, and then your tools. So if you don't have those three things underneath there, you're never going to get the ROI on your tool. You're never going to get the ROI on your people, and your processes are all going to be junked up. It's all very connected.
Agreed. And, I'll add to that. When we've done research, we've looked at research, and you see the alarming percentages of people who say they have to leave their organization to advance their career,
Totally.
or the percentages of young professionals who say they left their employer the last time they changed roles. I mean, something is not working, and I think engagement gets to the heart of those issues.
It does. And I think there's an employee ownership side, but there's also an organizational side, right? So what would you share? Let's go to the organizational side. What advice would you share with organizations who are looking to advance their culture or their people operations space?
So I love this too. It made me think of like sort of a mantra, like something, like we owe it to the people, right? We owe it to our people in our organizations who want to work in those organizations to really think about the complete job experience from beginning to end, and to better understand how, as you were saying, technology may or may not enhance certain components. And now, especially now, as we can connect instantly face to face, instead of just words on a screen, how do we challenge as HR leaders or people in the HR space, how do we challenge each other to think about how all of that matters?
Yeah. So really then challenging each other from sort of peer to peer, cross organization or even outside of your organization, really pushing each other to do better.
And I know this, we may get into certain, resources that are out there, but, hacking HR, a great place for leaders in this space to really safely explore ideas that could impact that the people experience, you know, and from beginning to end, before they're at your organization to how they leave your organization, if they should eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I look at other parts of the organization, Steve, and you and I both had corporate experience that, you know, yes, IT has to evolve and look at the latest technology, and marketing is looking for new ways, but I don't know that there's any other group, like besides the HR people ops function, that has to continually be monitoring the macro and the micro of the organization and
Mm-hmm.
understanding how humans are changing. That's a whole other level of complexity that, you know, it's not harder maybe, but it's just a different level of complexity than the other departments have to
Yeah.
do.
It's in getting into this space, that what you just said is what intrigues me so much about HR. And
Mm-hmm.
from someone who saw it differently a few years ago to now, I think, oh, how can I contribute more? How
Yeah.
can I get engaged more? And how might, you know, if everything blew up today and I had to reinvent my career, I would do that in HR.
Yeah.
Even with a background of marketing and digital and all that, you know,
Yeah.
and entrepreneurship, I would love to get more engaged in the HR space.
I know it's really it's an undervalued part of the organization. You know, I think they're using it for tactical, but it
Mhm.
can be, having led the strategic side of HR for so long, it can be very strategic and should be strategic because nobody else in the organization has the purview.
The view, right,
They
right.
just do.
And I think uh, I'll add how important it can be for that HR leader to have background experience or whatever in
Yes.
other aspects of the business. I used to just think
Mm-hmm.
as HR people as HR people, and they were experts in HR.
Mm,
I see the pressure for them that they must feel to understand so many other aspects of the business intimately,
yeah.
like you said.
Yeah, it's why I ended up, not to say that this is, everybody has to do this, but when I
Mhm.
found myself at the table with the executives for the first time in my career, sort of, you know, let's call it 15 so years ago, I looked around and was like, oh my gosh, I don't really understand everything they're talking about the financial side. So I went back to get my MBA because I was like, if I'm going to
Mhm.
be at this table, it's going to help me to understand the breadth and depth of the business so that I
Right.
can approach it. And I still do always approach it from the business side. People think I lead with humanity, but it's humanity and the business so we can get the results we like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Awesome. Great advice. Went down a little rabbit hole, but I think it was
Yeah.
a cool one. So,
That's okay.
what other leaders like yourself in this HR people operations space would you want to acknowledge or potentially could be even a guest?
So I think this person would be an absolute great guest on your show because his personality is so wonderful. But Manny Lara, he, as an HR leader, has taken, in my perspective, such an innovative approach to really all the things we've talked about, rethinking the process around people and engagement for companies. The guy in his spare time, he's developed tools, playbooks, strategies,
Yeah.
and he's literally given away at times so that others can really learn from his experiences. And he's a must-have guest, really.
He's a great
Yeah.
one. Steve and I both know Manny, and Manny is like a serial creative, like in the HR space, which I love to see that creative spot. It makes me have a kindred spirit in my area, and so
Right.
that's, I think, why we jam so well together. Last question here as we wrap
Yep.
up the session, Steve. What are the top resources, thought leaders, podcasts, books, articles, blogs, whatever that you read or listen to get deeper and more, I guess, impactful in this space?
Yeah. So a couple of things. I did mention Hacking HR, so that's
Yes.
a wonderful
Mhm.
resource. I find that talking to different HR leaders in various roles and companies, you learn a lot from how they're actually doing things and where gaps are for where we could get better.
Mm.
Um, and so I do that through my own podcast, which is just honestly a great learning tool for myself,
Yes.
and I hope for others. And then
Intro, right?
Intro,
Is
yeah.
podcast called
If
INNTRO? We'll link it.
INNTRO, yeah,
Hmm.
search for it. It's on all the platforms. And then, one that might be a little off the radar is Gary Vaynerchuk. And I mean, he, regardless of your opinion of him, when he speaks about how to deploy and treat people, it's incredible.
Oh, totally agree. Totally
Yeah.
agree, Steve. Awesome. Okay. So thank you for joining today. It's been a blast to jam with you. Everybody check out Steve. We will link to all the favorite resources that you mentioned, and we will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Cheers.
Thank you, Steve. Cheers.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.